All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for SSSS Gridman, episode 4.
Yeah, episode 4 for 4 S's. All right, so
yes.
the Neon Genesis Junior High students are here.
Yeah.
And
they're hilarious.
They're hilarious.
And they're
amazing.
probably all weapon transformations, very much like Samurai Caliber.
Yep.
For Redmond to be attached to.
And Auntie
failed Akane.
Auntie failed Akane.
And
got the food thrown at them.
Yes. And that whole thing of them not being human, being a kaiju.
Right.
And
yeah.
There's some interesting things that I want to see from that potentially in the future. But we have, in a way, our first, kind of big victory by having reinforcements being called in.
That's right.
We had Yuta not being died when he got killed,
That's right. And that's very important because that would have been bad.
Right. We have a little bit of Rika and Yuta's, kind of little
her being all like,
awkwardness.
The phone call, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Or the text.
Right. But we have been introduced to one of the Neon Genesis Junior High students. The girl, her name is Boar. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. And
she looks like a girl at least.
I believe so. Yeah. But just the group of them all being here means that maybe this is their kind of tie into the bigger conflict with the one that's been kind of fostering Akane's kind of twisted playfulness.
Good old chief over justice line.
Yes.
Oh boy, this will be good.
Yeah, this is going to be good. But it feels like we have our full cast now.
Yes, right. I don't think they'll introduce any more characters unless they wanted to introduce one more big baddie or something. But
right.
They don't really need to do that.
Yeah. So, next episode. Without further ado, let's get into it. Summer heat.
Yes.
Go at him sideways.
That's right.
ほら、うちら家近いし、前はよく朝一緒に学校行ったりしたけど、最近あんまり話してなかったっていうか。
Interesting.
全然気づかなかった。
Oh, you liar, Akane. You totally noticed.
最近、リカって響くんとよく話してるよね。なんで？だから、なんでって聞いてるんだけど。
Whoa. I'm sensing a box cutter about to be pulled out, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, she's probably going to be the target of the next kaiju.
Yep. Oh my gosh. Some YouTubers or what have you.
Something like that.
Yeah. Oh. That was a positive association with Akane joining a social group. So...
なんかいいことあったの？いや、別にいいことはないけど、どこの人たちとナミさんと茜で行くことになって。
They're totally gonna be spying.
Yeah.
茜と遊ぶの久しぶりだし。
Oh my gosh! Wow! Trigger. That was hilarious.
リカって年上好みなんじゃ。
We've got to have at least one of these episodes.
いや全然何が意味わかんないし。新庄の彼が合コンって嫌いとは言ってない。近いって言ったんだ。
Yeah.
あんな奇跡の寄せ集めみたいな美少女がさ、クソしょうもない次第の男と合コンとか。なんで女子って
お前ら本当キモいな。気になるならついてけよ。
Yeah.
手遅れになるぜ。
手遅れ。
Even if they're college guys.
Okay, I am in love with the idea of this episode.
Oh yeah. Yep. Spying from across the street. Oh boy.
And then came Win! Of course! Because they have to protect the Gridman.
Right, naturally.
Okay, cool. Oh, she's asking that again.
なんで制服バラバラなの？
Ah! I'm loving the overlapping conversations,
Yeah, yeah.
having to keep track of all of it.
グループ作っとこうよ。
It feels kind of frenetic.
はい私作ります。
あかねちゃんのアイコンめっちゃ可愛いじゃん。
She's like, I'm trying to ask
いや
about.
適当なんでわかんないっす。
But did you see it? It was a kaiju look.
Uh-huh.
Jacob.
Oh yeah.
懐かしい。おとか泣くやつだろあれ。
じゃあお先です。
So maybe the
Oh, 'cause
college
she-
guys are gonna be the
Yeah,
or, yeah. She's
because she roped them all into one place.
yep.
Oh.
She needs friends.
Yeah, she. But the thing is. Oh. And he just opens the doors like it's nothing.
Yep.
人を探してるんじゃない？
He's like, I'm trying to be helpful.
隠れろ。全員移動するみたいだよ。新庄あかねはもう帰ったみたいだし。
Ah!
He doesn't care
His
anymore.
motivation is
第
lost.
三ストーカーは立派な犯罪ですから。
お先です。
邪魔。
Whoa.
アンチに殺してほしい人が4人くらいいるん
Yep.
だけど。
Yep.
断る。俺はグリッドマンを倒すために生まれた。だ
Dang.
から倒すのはグリッドマンだけ。
Okay.
This is getting good.
Yeah.
Like.
何をしている？道にでも迷ったのか？
Have you lost your way?
おかえりあかねくん。
I love it.
何か収穫は？
今までのようなやり方じゃダメなんだ。
俺ずっと記憶が戻らないんです。
もし記憶喪失のふりだったら最悪だかんね。
リッカに何か言ったらしいんですけど、今も全く思い出せなくて。
好きなんだろう。
Then you must pledge yourself fully to her.
はい、多分。どうした今ちゃん。
Whoa.
Oh.
何どうしたの？
Wait, is she killing them herself, like personally?
わけわからん。何
もう皆さん一緒で仲いいんですね。
And he's got the toast.
And how is he's eating it with the thing over his mouth? Like,
思春期丸出し。いいじゃんな。
Wow. Wow.
ほらお客さんき。
ギャリちゃん、
響き
その
くん
方なってる。
何？
あ、いや、別に。早くこっち座れって。
どこ行くの？
友達と約束あんの。
うくわ。
はい。
Ooh, scary.
グリッドマン同盟やる気ないだろ
そう、あかねがもっと残っててくれれば。あかねと話したかったな。うちももっとヤマトくんと話したかった。うちも。だってアーカディアって4人でしょ。最初から1人だよ。
Oh my gosh.
20だ。
Yeah.
3人が聞いてる
That's so freaky.
yeah.
Yep.
なんで昨日の人たちが狙う？
Holy crap.
とりあえずナミコとハスは無事だから。ごめん、ちょっと用事思い出した。お先です。ごめん、ちょっと用事思い出した。昭和のドラマか、あいつは。
う。周りないんですか？
本当。
The dialogue in this show is so sappy and fun.
悩み事か、ユータ。私はユータの味方だ。
ありがとう。でも俺自身の問題だから。
今度はあなたが危ないっていうか。
ごめん。
Oh crap.
そうなんです。
It's happening right now.
Yep.
聞くよ。何？
いいから逃げないと。
ちょっと
Yeah, yeah. Run.
危ないんですって。
いや、だから何
Oh, oh boy.
ちょっと何これ
Oh my gosh.
捕まえた。リッカもそんなとこいると危ないよ。
Whoa.
Okay.
Lovely. Technical powers are always OP. Oh! Samurai
Alright.
Caliber.
またこの人。
アクセス。フラッシュ。
All right. No more hentai tentacles here. Oh, that's cool.
And Caliber already got them up there.
Yeah. Boom. Jeez.
Now Auntie's like, okay.
2-on-1. Here we go. Yeah.
All right.
Gridman, you're gonna need to combine with some serious
We need some
weapons here.
drills up in here.
Yep. 2 versus 1.
大変そう。アクセスコード。
Yeah, Buster Boar, you're right. That's
Okay.
gonna be the drills, yeah.
Right, and Tractor Max and
And then what was the other one? I missed it.
didn't quite catch it.
Ah! It's a free-for-all, actually! Oh, the fighter jet! Oh! Gridman's gonna be able to fly! Oh! Whoa! Whoa!
Whoa!
終わっちゃったじゃん。
多分パソコンみたいに固まったんだ。
Akane's using some kind of override
Right.
thing, or this is the barrier of the simulation. Like, what's going on? Turn it off and turn it back on again.
I mean,
再起動しないし。
I love that it was
おい蹴るなよ。昭和の
will
金
you?
じゃない
Yep, yep.
not a damn CRD.
4人同時には出撃できない。
Oh.
We need a better computer.
なら一番強いのは誰ですか。
Boar.
Yeah, yeah. The way it kind of looks at both
Yeah.
of them like Fist of Justice. Heracles combined. Of course.
Awesome, because, yep. Oh, this looks so amazing.
Yep, all the references. Oh! Oh
Okay,
my god,
okay.
that was good.
That's a shot right there.
お疲れ様。
Oh.
いや、ありがとう。
She's just like, what? I was just being
立
like
夏のおかげで
nice, you
勝
know.
てたと思う。これからさ、飯とか行かない？
うん行きたい。めっちゃお腹すいた。
マジか。
店を
Ah!
All of us. He's like, I was meaning like just us two. Yeah.
And the way he's looking back like,
まどろっこ
this is truly vexing. Truly the most vexing of
Yep,
circumstances.
Indeed.
Yeah, this whole dynamic.
あれ？
Moshi moshi.
Kane's not there. Yeah.
Mhm.
来ないな。
Yep, she has her number too.
なんで私の周りばかり怪獣が出てくるんだろう。私のせいかな。
Hmm.
Interesting.
It's interesting how they'll shift focus, like, quite a bit between the characters. So it's a pretty omniscient story in terms of, you know.
Oh yeah, like even though Yuta is definitely the main character, he's not really the perspective character
Exactly.
the majority of the time.
And in fact, like, there is less time spent on his focus than the sum total of the other characters in the story.
Yep.
Which is almost surprising given how, like, you know, like Kill la Kill was, you know, like primarily Ryoko's story and stuff.
Yeah,
but
and
then
he
we
doesn't
have,
even have that much more focus than any of the other characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Akane or Rika.
like, in some ways, Akane has more focus. Like,
Sure, which makes sense because she's the antagonistic force.
right, but there were a lot of little things they seem to be hinting at in this episode that
Yeah.
were
Mhm.
based on, like, not necessarily the plot conflict, but the
Mhm.
characters, like, actually, like, figuring out Akane's psyche and what's going
Right.
on in her head.
Yeah, I get the
Like,
feeling...
it's not just a friendship thing.
Right, and I get the feeling that Akane is going to be one of the best... Like, she already is my personal favorite character.
Right,
But
right.
I think she's going to be one of just the best written characters by the end of the show.
Totally.
And little bits like this where we get to see the idiosyncrasies of how she interacts with everybody
Yeah,
is going to help reinforce the rewatching.
for sure.
All
All
right.
right.
Oh boy.
This episode had some cool slice of life stuff.
It did.
It
It
had some
was
cool stuff about Akane.
cheesy and wonderful and hilarious, but they did get into a lot of the more serious stuff
Uh-huh.
seen with Akane. And
Uh-huh.
and I like how they're doing this because the fact that the antagonist is the
Yeah.
character that I'm most interested in, not just from the
Right.
standpoint of the quirky, crazy interactions with
Mhm.
Chief over Justice Logan,
Right. Yeah.
but that like actually as a character and like growth and stuff like that's really cool.
Right.
And the thing is that it doesn't seem... It's not one of those things like with, say, Kill la Kill, where it's just like, there's an ulterior motive, and I get the feeling that this person is actually on the side of the main characters, right?
Right.
She's very much against them and is trying to, kill people and all that stuff. But there's a bit more of a method to the madness that we get to see here, and I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. what it seems to be is that when she has the whole trying to set up a social encounter with her and Rika, she ends up going a bit too far in to the whole social dynamic stuff, and ends up getting, in my opinion, feeling a little bit uncomfortable and exposed by these college guys who are asking too many personal questions and stuff, like bringing up the whole thing of the alien Baltan and it potentially maybe being a reference to what she's doing, but also maybe a show that she's a really big fan of or something like that, where she gets a lot of her inspiration from creating these kaiju and stuff. And she leaves super early after only trying, I think, twice to get Rika to, there's once on the bus and then there's once during the party, to get her to talk about the whole dynamic between her and Yuta.
I think it might have been twice during the party, but yeah.
It might have been twice during the party too, you're right. But these guys kept, kind of...
And it kind of makes...
Screwing up the whole thing.
Like I feel like there's a lot that we can get into the psychology of Akane, and that maybe that could be the aspect that's similar to Kill la Kill here, where because with Kill la Kill it was all about all the psychological stuff about or not psychological stuff, but the themes that tie into the coming of age story that they were telling with Ryoko and Satsuki and everything, and the life fibers and all that stuff. And I feel like here they might be going into that with Akane, with the whole idea of the estranged kid, because she clearly doesn't have many friends, right? And while she definitely has her murderous tendencies, there's also this idea that she doesn't like people, asking or prying into her personal life.
Right.
And there's probably a reason for that we haven't seen yet, but I feel like it's all connected. It's all connected, and it's also very not stereotypical. That's the wrong word, but that's the word that's coming to mind of basically something that while Akane will be a very specific character with her own intricacies and idiosyncrasies and all that, it's going to be getting at basically a more common concept or caricature that exists out in the world, probably
something more relatable,
right? Exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Even if it's done through the guise and skin of the murderous girl that makes the robots and whatnot.
Yeah, I think part of it also is due to the fact that there is some aspect of reality that's being bent by this whole situation, so it's a bit fantastical, and maybe also in that respect Akane isn't killing anyone, and that's probably why she feels more comfortable doing these kinds of things of making people just disappear, because it's like they never existed at all to begin with. So my question for basically like this whole like discussion around Akane here is, do you feel like she is in a situation where she is going after a singular goal, like it's something in the future that she's looking to attain, in some ways like a relationship with Yuta or kind of a friend, if you will, or is it something where there was something in the past that she's trying to kind of like restore, rectify, cover up, something that she's basically reacting from, or more proactively going towards, well,
so, I feel like her room is the best insight we have.
I agree.
From a visual sense into her personality, because there's
a lot of baggage.
There's a lot of baggage. There's a lot of baggage. It's also something that's closed off.
Yes.
So there's this idea that from the outside you wouldn't be able to tell that everything was so wrong on the inside, which is
right. She wears a mask very well.
Right, which is a great representation for the fact that she's also kind of psycho. But because the whole thing, if she seemed fairly normal, and then it's like, oh no, she's killing people and whatnot. But then there's also the fact that there's so many of the models, right? And she still makes new ones each time she has a fight with Gridman and all that, right? So that's kind of curious. That like what that makes me think is that that it's a passion. It's basically that there's
That's
something...
where the proactive part comes
right.
from.
There's something that she cares about very deeply beyond just being petty and wanting to get payback for the people that have slighted her, right?
Yes. Good point. That's the reactive side of her.
Right.
Right.
But yet she is not secure in that, hence why when the dude asked about the phone icon thing,
she was like,
oh, it was random, it's nothing,
Yeah.
you know, because if she did start talking about that, then it would probably open up a whole bag cats, you know, like it'd
she would be able to keep the mask maintained.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
so it's a combination of two then, is what I'm getting what you're saying. Is that
yeah,
the reactive side is more with whenever she does try to do the social thing, she keeps getting burned in her mind because people do things that are either insensitive, which I think is probably a lot of it. I would say that, if anything, it would be very easy to classify her with some kind of antisocial personality disorder.
But it could also just be simply like bad past experience with social situations, which then self-perpetuates the problem, because a lot of the things that are here, even if they are little like maybe mess ups of like, you know, people doing something that's a bit rude, you know, like the, you know, bumping into her, you know, and not apologizing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that would have been better if they didn't do that, but it's not something that's that huge, right? So so it makes me think that Akane is basically looking for this, right? In the same way when she asked Rika the question, and Rika was like, oh no, it's been kind of like, you know, it's been pretty much the same as ever.
And she's like, pay attention.
She's like, no,
why?
I'm not, you know, like, don't say it's not like that. I'm saying, why is it like that? And
Rika said nothing after that.
Yeah.
Nothing.
But later, when she asked again, Rika was like, well, yeah, I guess I've been kind of, you know, talking to him a bit more than normal. But then she wasn't able to get the answer of why, you know, and what all that's about.
So then she goes and does basically the reactive thing of, I'm going to go and basically let out my frustrations on these 4 college guys, because in some ways they did sidetrack her from getting her solution or her answer to her question.
Right.
But what I find interesting about that is that in some ways she doesn't blame Rika for not answering her questions yet.
Right.
And I would say it's a definite yet, because in some ways Rika hasn't been or maybe in some ways she was a little upset with Rika, but then the college boys went up a little bit higher in their priority list because they actually noticed
Rika ended up actually being helpful and willing to answer questions, but then she got interrupted. Yeah.
And also the guys went after, maybe in some ways, the alien Balten thing, and she was just like, because that was the cue that made her leave.
Right. And when she left, I don't think it was that she left because she wanted to murder them, but it was that she was uncomfortable, and because she was uncomfortable, she wanted to murder them, right? So and what was it? She said something when she was like looking down. She's like, these old morons or something.
Yeah, it's like they have like no idea or something like that. Like what are they doing or something? I can bring it up again real quick. But one of the things that she said when she was in the elevator was that this sucks. Like, basically, what the hell's wrong with these old dudes? Yeah. And they're all trying to bring up the reference as like in some ways, this is something that I find to be potentially the crux of the whole problem here, is that they were actually trying to connect with her that. And that's how you make friends, is you form connections surrounding things that you've experienced, memories, likes, dislikes, whatever. And those connections can form the foundations of the beginning of a friendship. But she saw that as more of like an invasion. Like, they you attacked my safe dwelling, and then she freaks out, says, what the hell's wrong with them, puts on the mask of, oh, I have a curfew and I've got to go. I am sensing maybe more something where it's like, there's this aspect of depression, aspect of where she cannot look at things through the lens of connection, because the outside world is antagonistic towards her in general.
Well, and also, we've had theories about what the Gridmen are and how they exist in this world. One of the things that we've thought is that there's this idea of some form of reality manipulation. Things might not be what they seem, whatever.
Imagination.
But it all boils down imagination, and that basically they're projections. And in this situation, it very much seems like Akane is projecting all this bad stuff on other people, probably because that's something that she experienced in the past.
Yep.
Which means, well, or it doesn't necessarily mean, which is loads of opportunity for wonderful character interactions and development. The fact that Akane hasn't gotten pissed to the point of wanting Rika dead yet actually makes me think that they're going to have some great heart-to-heart conversations potentially. And
as
also
shown
potentially
kind of in
with
the
Auntie.
ED, actually.
The
fact that the two of them are shown bonding, or at least together, quite a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then even with Auntie, there's this idea of them not getting along, but Akane wanting to get along. Right? Even though she self-sabotages it by constantly throwing things in his face, right?
Yep.
You know, because he would happily be a friend with you. It's just that, you know, he's got different goals than you, maybe.
Yep.
You know?
And here's another idea with the whole thing of the past and stuff. We had this whole, like, kind of the way the story started off with the whole idea of memory loss and stuff.
Oh yeah.
What that sounds like is more that Akane had some kind of singularity event. Something big happened, and the whole game basically started at that point. Like, basically the whole whole environment, imaginative projection control thing began at that point. And my guess is that it's something either related to that Yuta confessed to Rika that he likes her, and that's why he was staying over at her place or something like that.
Okay.
Or it's something where he either rejected, there was a rejection of Akane basically had a disconnect. Something happened that was something like a rejection or something like that.
Not necessarily a romantic rejection, but it could be a rejection of friendship, just feeling like they were, you know, ignoring her or something like that. Yeah.
And that caused this whole thing.
Well, and also that ties into what Chief Overjustice Logan said of,
as long as you're having fun.
As long as you're having fun, I'm happy.
Right. Which if that's not a projection kind of...
What it makes me think of is that basically this is something where Chief Overjustice Logan is... And if we get another name for him... or we already have, whatever. I love that name. But,
me too.
Is basically that he's preying on her insecurities and feelings of being alone, right? And sort of feeding into that darker side of her, which could then make for an amazing... like basically climax for the story, where then it's not just about defeating this robot,
it's about saving Akane.
It's about saving Akane, saving the heart of the lost kid that is, you know, doing all of this stuff.
For sure.
That would be absolutely fantastic.
And that's just the Akane stuff this episode, y'all. That's just the Akane stuff. We ended up getting a lot of comedy, a lot of references. Have you lost your way? It's truly vexing watching the two of you.
Like, that was so good. That was so perfect. I love the fact that basically Gamagori Ira is now being the relationship counselor.
Right.
Like that's so like beautifully ironic to me. I love it. I love it. And then the fact that he was like eating stuff while having the mask on.
He had his piece of toast with jam.
Yeah.
And it was just like chewing with the animation of this kind of bouncing up and down, but it's like, wait a minute.
And also the piece of toast with jam, like I know that it's not like he wasn't actually running late to school.
No, he wasn't.
But I just see a piece of toast for basically Gamagori Ira.
Right.
And I guess his name in this is Tractor Max or something.
Something,
or maybe Tractor is the type of weapon or whatever.
It's just Max.
And it's just Max, which, you know, again, fits perfectly for him. But I just, I love it. I love it.
So we had also all the developments of them summoning their weapons.
Yep.
Their forms, their Gridman attachments.
They need a new rig.
It glitched out the Matrix, basically.
The computer couldn't handle it. But here's the thing. The computer not being able to handle it glitched the environment. Right. Like, so there's a very real possibility that this whole thing is just two interfaces or two modules, basically, two nodes interacting with the interface, which is the world. Right. And one of them just kind of shorted out, but it actually like affected this whole thing here. And the thing is just Akane has the other node, just the other spot where she, you know, putting stuff in. Yep.
I'm just gonna throw this idea out there that kind of hints potentially, I think, at the two imaginations, the two projections, the two psyches that are at odds with each other via their own things that they're putting out into the environment, which means that it's not necessarily just Akane that had some kind of big thing happen. It's really important
Also Yuta?
what Yuta had
Sure.
happened right before he lost his memory. Because the reason for that, I think, is because Akane maybe doesn't want him to remember that. And that might be that...
Or Yuta doesn't want to remember.
Okay.
Like,
I would say that...
Like, what I'm looking for here is how they do the thing of the classic trigger thing of basically breaking through the walls of reality, right? Where whether it's going to space or going into interdimensional whatevers, or however they do it, right? How are they going to do that here? And it definitely seems like it could be a reality level thing in this show because of the fact that so Yuta lost his memories, Gridman also lost memories, right? And they are projections from the computers, right? So, yeah, there's a lot that they could do there.
Yeah, I think it's more symbolic, and it's tied to the psyches of the main two characters, being in this case Akane and Yuta, and then Rika is the one caught in the middle of this awkward love triangle, basically.
Right.
And maybe is also the one that was confessed to. That's just my theory with regards to what would be something that ties the whole memory loss thing, and that I would put basically the impetus for the memory loss thing as being Akane's desires.
The tough thing here is that Yuta lost his memories, but Rika didn't. So if Yuta said something to Rika, if words were exchanged, we've seen Rika's perspective.
Sure.
We've been inside her head. So it'd be I'm curious how they'll end up doing that, because if Rika still remembers, but Yuta doesn't, and it's this big mystery, how much would it actually change if Rika isn't directly thinking about it that much anymore?
Well, what I think it is that she's thinking that he's trying to kind of just brush it aside, like, oh, I freaked out and I shouldn't have said that. And that's why he remembered back the thing of her saying, wow, if you're just faking you have memory loss, that's really mean. That's really stupid of you.
Yeah.
Which is basically... I interpret that as, wow, that's the excuse you're coming up with going back on confessing your love to me?
Yeah.
Wow, that's real mature of you, Yuta. And the thing is that still, he did confess to her probably in that scenario. So I would think that she would have some kind of still attachment to, wait, maybe something's wrong with him. And now that we're dealing with Gridman and all this other crazy stuff, she's like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna stick around and see what's actually going on here.
Yeah.
And I could see that really being the big thing of this here. But also, there's a lot of comedy this episode. A lot from the Neon Genesis Junior High students.
That's
with them interacting with just regular people and stuff. And
Yep, and Samurai Caliber still being weird and quirky and just
jumping all over the place too, like it's nothing.
And not even show it. Like, I love that they don't even show him jumping over the place. It's just he's all of a sudden on the rooftop. It's like, how did he get there while carrying somebody? No big deal. He does it all the time. It's easy.
Yeah.
That was just great.
Okay, and we also had Auntie. Auntie had their stuff, which is like,
character development.
Character development. I'm definitely on the virile train right now with regards to Auntie's character. I am sworn to destroy Gridman. I don't care about all these other people and stuff like that. And like Akane has like multiple times over the course of the 2 episodes that we've been introduced to Auntie, thrown so much stuff in like
their face,
just like. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you.
Yep.
And it's like, is that the self-hatred projecting out in a physical action of disdain?
I believe that is the case.
But then Auntie's not human.
Right.
So is Auntie a literal projection of something in Akane? Like Akane's maybe hatred of Yuta for
something. Yeah. Okay.
Because the thing is that what is Auntie?
A kaiju.
a kaiju, right? That's what Auntie like reminds us over and over again.
Right.
But
and Akane makes the kaiju.
Right, Akane makes the kaiju. So it's a creation of Akane's.
Right, and considering that the Gridmen at the very least are a projection of sorts, and there's so many connections that could be made there to the personality of the person doing the projecting, especially in the case of Akane, because she's actively making these models, right?
Yes, that's a good point.
In this room where no one else sees, right?
Yeah.
So that's where she can be vulnerable and honest with herself, right? Like the way that she'll have that way that she is outside, and then she'll come in and suddenly it's like, and then this is where I can be me, you know?
Taking off the socks,
Yep.
kicking back, and not really thinking about appearances or anything like that.
Yep. I don't like. I'm not sure how just whack crazy they'll get with this because it's Trigger, and how like psychological mind bending and deep they'll get with it, because they could do both.
They could.
But I'm just not sure what that would look like, because I've never seen that really with Trigger before.
Well, I've seen it in other stories where you have basically the headspace of an individual be represented by a place that no one else goes.
Sure, yeah.
So maybe that's what this is. This isn't a literal environment where this is her room. I mean, it could be.
I mean, I think it is her actual room, but...
But if we take it as that symbolically,
right,
the idea of there being all this trash in the room, and also the source of her creativity, her passion, she's in this like cramped, isolated world. Like, if this is just symbolic
trapped
of
with her own garbage that she's not dealing with,
that she ignores intentionally.
Yep.
In fact, like, her desk even has all this kind of clutter and stuff and like old food, and she'll like pull it off to the side and stuff.
Yep.
And then it also has this stuff that gives her like satisfaction, this this comfort of with my passion, my toys, my things and stuff like that. It's Ooh, I would love to see if over time they're actually adding like trash to the room.
Potentially.
Like, it gets more and more like full.
I almost wouldn't be surprised. Now this is weird. Sounds weird to say.
What?
But I almost wouldn't be surprised if they had it be something where they actually break the fourth wall and they burst out into like the Trigger animation studio. Like
Wait. From Akane's little perspective here.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
I don't even know how that would work, but
that's a weird, whack theory, dude.
Because what
the heck?
What I'm getting here is that basically, because Akane seems to be the crux of almost this entire show, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like the stuff with Yuta and Rika and everything, that's almost more paying homage to like the other like tokusatsu.
The tokusatsu stuff, yeah.
So I'm not like. I'm sure that we'll get some development from them that'll be really good, and we've already started to, right? But I feel like Akane is where this show is. It's got that Trigger unique, sprinkles.
Yeah,
in
but
there.
anyone that Akane won't go after specifically to kill is someone that's important to her. Therefore, we know that they are important to the story.
Right.
They might not be important as the high level that Akane is to the conflict, but she sees them as a potential solution to her conflict.
Here. Like, yeah.
The whole dynamic of a 2v1 and having it end up being a free-for-all thing,
that was great. Loved it.
That was really fun.
Yep.
The visual thing where they had the explosion.
Oh yeah,
and
that
then
was just
Gridman
like
came down and stuff, and it was like lightning after the kick and everything.
That was just absolutely wonderful.
Can we just get a shout out to like how cool they do the 3D and stuff?
Oh yeah, the 3D
and
in
interacting
this show
with the 2D city environments and stuff.
Oh yeah, and the way that like. And even like, okay, thinking about like the whole idea of tokusatsu and everything, even just watching how the mechs move, like how Gridman moves and stuff, it looks like it moves like you would expect someone in a costume to move.
Right. They're not mechs. They're the yeah, exactly. But yeah.
The like, well, from the standpoint of like the production of the tokusatsu things, because it would, but then of course it's all in 3D and looks great, right? But like just with how like sort of the arm chops and everything go, it looks like that's basically just a person in a costume,
and it's awesome. It's so cool.
And I'm not exactly sure how they did that, like, because
Well, I think the primary thing is they try to avoid showcasing the 3D things interacting directly with the 2D things. So it's two 3D things.
Sure.
And then they do particle effects, like big things like explosion stuff, and those interact with the 2D environments.
Oh, and and I think the other thing is that a lot of the times in stories that are like mech type, they'll show the components of the mechs working. The only time that they do that is when they have the tractor mechs or whatever combine and all that stuff. But when the fights are actually happening, it's just, a bipedal figure, wrestling something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I had someone very much, though, kind of wanting to make sure I was understood or was aware that they cringe every time we mention mechs, because this is not a mech show. There's no piloting being involved here.
No, I know. Yeah,
I know. I was just saying, like, that's something that I want to know, like, you guys, like, we hear that and stuff, and when we say mech, we're talking about the look of the whole thing, because it's a giant robot,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I mean, within the whole energy projection weird thing that this show is for the setting and stuff. Okay. So what do you think's going to happen next with regards to how Akane has shifted to now more of a stealth, sneaky style of dispatching people so that Gridman doesn't know that she's doing this?
Yeah, like how she's able to make it so that they aren't able to detect the kaiju, that's pretty impressive. I'm curious how they're going to go into that, because that, again, goes to more of the things of, like, we don't know how Akane's doing all this and what the limitations of the things she does is.
Okay, well, I'm not talking about the how, I'm talking about the why. Like, this was something where she's, because I'd say she could do whatever she wanted within the imagination of her kaiju kind of limits and stuff, but for some reason I think she wanted this one to be handled quietly and just to be done with.
Sure. So
that it wouldn't draw attention back to Rika being like, wait, why were they?
Yeah, so that's so
removed?
So the thing that I would, if I were to think of as to why, is because it was something that wasn't on the it wasn't just the surface level site,
right?
Basically, that she felt deeply not safe and insecure by what was happening, right?
Yeah.
So it's something that she doesn't want to have attention drawn to it, because she wants it to just happen and for it to be done with, and then so that she can just forget it ever happened.
And honestly, if they're gotten rid of, anyone that like isn't them isn't going to remember that they even existed. So part of this also might be where Rika ends up accidentally confirming the whole disconnect between the memories of the people that are part of the Gridman Alliance and the others in the environment. So Akane is like, they still remember that whole thing.
Although I believe she already knows that they remember. She just doesn't know the extent of how things go. I don't know.
I don't know, because the whole Gridman Alliance group is something that's still a mystery to her. Like, how many of them are there? The idea that the Utah is working with Rika and the buddy. The other buddy guy.
I mean, let's face it,
Utsumi or something like that.
He doesn't really matter.
He's good comic relief and stuff.
He's good comic relief, and he's in the Akane fan club.
Yes, he is a reminder of Akane being the princess, the wondrous girl, the miracle girl.
Yes.
So. Little does he know. All right, so that's a good wrap, I'd say, for the end of this discussion here. Lots of mystery still out there, surprisingly, for such a fun, wacky show, and a lot of potentially deep psychological stuff that they'll go into with Akane.
Yes.
So, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion, y'all. If you want to see the next episode's reaction discussion right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us about these stories, about anime in general. You can get involved in the community events there, and talk with Jacob also about his book that he just finished publishing.
That's right. My passion project, sci-fi novel, Battle Lines, is still available for order on Amazon. Link in the description below. Go check it out. It's a pretty fun book.
It's awesome, yeah. So if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.